All right. Hey, everybody. We're live and we're going to be talking about how you can get more organic sales, better organic ranking, more traffic, more profits, more of all of the good stuff. If that sounds like what you're after, you're definitely in the right place. My name is Kevin Sanderson, marketing and partnerships guy here at My Amazon Guy. And I'm joined by Noah Wickham right here to, at least on my screen on my left. I think it's the same on your screen too. But either way, one of the two. It's always kind of like mirror when we're looking at our screen. So we probably see ourselves differently than those of you watching. But we're going to go ahead and get into it. But just want to make sure you guys can hear us. If you don't mind, just in the chat, let us know where you're joining us from. There should be a post, a comment somewhere in here where you can just post a comment into the chat. Let us know where you're joining us from. That helps to make us know that like the currently 43 people in climbing are able to actually hear us. So, all right. So it looks like we've got Paul is joining us from Hudson Valley, New York with an exclamation point. We have Mitali joining us from India. We've got Cameron joining us from Grand Forks, North Dakota. We have Renee joining us from España. We have Barack joining us from Turkey. I like the dots on it. That's probably the correct spelling. I spell it like Thanksgiving Day turkey. We've got Katina Bennett joining us from Orlando, the home of the magical mouse. I lived in Orlando for many years. I was mostly on the southwest side of the town. I've lived in Southwest Orlando. I lived in Celebration. I lived in Windermere. I've been around the block in Central Florida. We have Christy joining us from Georgetown, Texas, which, correct me if I'm wrong, that's near Austin, right? I had a fraternity brother in college who was from Georgetown. Glenn is joining us from South Carolina. We've got Harry joining us from Hua Hin, Thailand. I probably completely butchered that. No offense to the folks in Thailand. We've got Juan is joining us from Mexico. And we've got Barry's joining us from the Netherlands, also with an exclamation point. Paul is joining us from the Philippines. We've got Christy's confirming that Georgetown, Texas is suburban Austin. I remember it was more like farther out way back in the day. I think it's the suburban sprawl in Austin is increased over time. I could be totally wrong on that. Maybe it's like right next to Austin and I'm misremembering. And then we've got Colin joining us from Zurich, Switzerland. And we've got Diana joining us from Costa Rica. So we have like all points of the globe other than maybe Australia because they're like asleep at this point. And we've got all over the United States and North America. Do we have anybody here from Canada? Usually we've got Canadians. You know, it's the same time zone. There's a lot of people.
There's somebody in there. Somebody's got to be from Canada.
Somebody's got to be representing in the Canada. So if not, that's okay. But the Canadians are missing out. And if you're here and you're from Canada, you just haven't let us know. You can get yourself that competitive edge by being here. So, Wasim is here from Canada. So
there we go.
We've got Canada in the house. He's here. So, all right, cool. All right. We do have someone who wanted to clarify. David is not in Canada, but he is a Canadian citizen. And Wasim wanted to confirm that he's in Ottawa, which is the home of the NHL Ottawa Senators. And more importantly, it's the capital of Canada. They're Washington, D.C. If I stand corrected, let me know. I'm pretty sure that's accurate. Christy said about 25 miles north of downtown Austin is Georgetown, Texas. All right. So with that, we've got a good crowd here. We're excited to have everybody here. And just to make sure that you know you are in the right place, we are going to be talking about, make us a little smaller here, Amazon SEO in our Amazon SEO Masterclass. Maybe I put us here on the side. All right, there we go. So with that, I want you to ask yourself, are you finding it harder to scale these days? Does any of this resonate? If so, let us know in the comments. And then also, are your ads more expensive? These are probably some things that I think a lot of you here can relate to. And then from there, are your both ACOS and TACOs going up? So both your advertising cost of sales and then also with all your total sales. So it looks like we've got people saying yes and yes. So this is definitely something that I think a lot of people are going through. So ad costs are going up. It's getting harder to scale. A lot of people just feel like what they should do is just throw more money into ads, which ads are a good thing. We're not anti-ads here, but they have to be done right. And so if your ads are going up and things are getting harder to scale, the good news is it's not your fault. There are some headwinds that you're up against that make things harder than they need to be. So the reality is the deck is stacked against you. And over the last few years, Amazon has increased sponsored placements like this one here. There's that entire top row, all 5. It used to be the first 1 or 2, then it went to 4. Now sometimes it's 5. The first full row, not one single organic. Oh, and back in the day when I first started, there was no sponsored brands. And so this top part here, like, wouldn't have even been there. That would have been like 2 rows of organic. Now it's gone. People have to scroll to find the organic listings. So ads are harder and they keep giving more placements, and they keep coming up with more creative placements, picks from Amazon influencers, trending now. So the good news is this is not your fault, but the reality is, no pointing fingers isn't going to do anything. So you got to do something about it. So there are things you can do, and that's what we're going to be talking about here today, because ultimately the solution to this is better SEO. Because if you have better SEO, you're going to be working on increasing your organic ranking. You're going to have more traffic, but without having to spend more money on ads. And that also improves your PPC results, which may sound counterintuitive because we've always think about how PPC improves your organic ranking, but better SEO is actually going to improve your PPC because algorithm looks at your product as being more relevant. So that's what we're going to be talking about here today. So today you're going to learn our 4-phase approach to SEO, how the algorithm actually works, and we're going to be answering some live questions for you. So if you're joining us and you're like, who are these people? We're from My Amazon Guy. We're the largest single owner agency. That's Stephen Pope, our founder there. We like to think of ourselves based on results, that we're the Amazon agency that gets your products seen and sold. And so we have about 400 brands that we currently manage and about 400 employees that oversee $1.2 billion in annual revenue. We used to say $6 billion in sales since the company was founded, but now because time and we keep increasing more sales, we're now up to $7 billion. So over $7 billion in sales that we've overseen. So we've got to see what works and what doesn't. And we don't just focus on just throwing more money at ads. We want to help you get more results. So I'm joined here by, I think I'm pointing in the right direction, Noah Wickham's. Noah, I'm sure the folks would love to hear more about you if they're not familiar with you.
Absolutely. So, those who are not familiar, I don't think I am. Can you hear me? Everyone in the chat, tell me if you can hear me.
Am I just not hearing you?
I think Kevin can.
Sorry, folks. This is what happens when we're live. So if you don't mind, in the comments, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me? No. Can you hear Noah?
Okay, so they can hear me. So
it's me.
Yeah.
All right. You do your thing as long as y'all could hear me. So
Kevin will go and figure that out. And while he's doing that, I will introduce myself. So my name is Noah Wickham, as you have seen, and I am our VP of Sales and Marketing here at My Amazon Guy. I have been in the Amazon e-commerce space for over a decade. I've had multiple of my own brands. I was consultant for a number of years, and I have a weird saying where I'm like, I've reviewed over 10,000 Amazon listings. And that is largely due with the fact that I'm reviewing listings every single day. I talk to usually on average about 5 to 6 different sellers every single day. I talk with and review outside of that more and more listings. And so we're looking at thousands and thousands of different listings I look at every single day. So I get to see the things that are working and the things that aren't working very, very quickly. Here at My Amazon Guy, in fact, we have, I actually want to know the exact number, but I believe right now over 50,000 different products under management is what I would imagine. We have a couple of really big clients in there that if we really wanted to include, I bet we could say over 100,000 products that we currently manage. So we have quite the catalog, so to speak, of what we work with, who we work with. And I get to see it all, do it all, and hopefully provide some value along the way to you guys today. So
awesome. Well, the good news is I have my ears working now. I'd plug in a different spot. But yes, that is awesome. Is the way we like to think of it sometimes is we're kind of like that test kitchen or a laboratory where we get to play around and see what works and what doesn't, so that you don't have to make some of the mistakes that road rash, as Steven likes to say, that we get that for you, and then we pass those learnings on so that you don't have to worry about that, because we figured out what's working and what's not. And the reality is today it seems like there's a lot of hype around, like, oh, you got to focus over here, you focus over there. But we can tell you we're not just regurgitating something else we read on LinkedIn. We're showing you what actually works. So with that, Noah, I think I should probably go ahead and kick it over to you to show the folks more about their SEO.
I think that is perfect. So many of you who have heard from my Amazon guy before, watched some of our content, everything, are probably very well aware. Let me share my screen here. Actually, here is wrong screen. Let's get mine up there. Hold on. There we go. Okay. Technical difficulties. So those who have seen us before have probably heard about our SEO phases. SEO phase 1 being search term optimization, basically getting your product to be seen in some way, shape, or form, all of the primary keywords and competitor research for your category. So really, this is the base level that every single seller does without knowing whether or not they actually are doing it. They're taking a bunch of different keywords and search terms and they're adding it to their listing. You're probably doing this in your title, your bullet points, everything. Then we dive into our phase 2, which is incremental indexing. And I would love to hear in the chat from everyone, what overall ranking does a keyword have to be, or a product has to be on a keyword for it to be considered indexed versus ranked? Would love to hear that out in the chat when you guys get a sec, and I'll call some of that out. But that is where phase 2 comes in, is incremental indexing. Phase 3, strike zone. That is getting you from page 2 and 3 onto page 1. And then phase 4 is the search query report. So these are the age-old phases that we have talked about for years at this point, right? And these are things we've added to them, we've layered on top of them, and added new things. I wanted to kind of dive in today, rather than talking about what we know tried and true as far as our 4-phase approach to SEO. I want to talk about what the future of SEO is going to look like and what we're currently seeing and testing across all of our client accounts right now. And that comes down to this aspect that many of you have probably seen when you are searching this guy over here, Rufus, which I have been on record many a time saying that Rufus doesn't really matter. And still, today, it does not matter all that much. And I say today because realistically, nobody is realistically using Rufus all that much. Amazon likes to claim that it has over 300 million active monthly users, but pretty much anytime there's any other independent study done across consumer basis, nobody else can verify that. And many people don't even realize it. There's a large over-attribution, but that doesn't mean that this is not something to think about, and to think about, especially with SEO. And the main reason behind this that we'll talk about is that historically, for years upon years upon years, we focused in key areas for SEO. One being your title, getting your title to have, especially within these first 5 words right here, the top search terms and top keywords we want to be ranking for. And so we dig into this and we try and make our title as optimized with different search terms that people are going to look at, such as this: enhanced mitochondrial support. Haven't heard mitochondrial since high school when I was in biology class, but regardless. And then things such as potent heart health, cellular energy production support. All of these are search term phrases that they are trying to rank on, which is why it's in the title. They would likely go on as well when we're looking at the about this item to list a lot of these more in the actual bullet points, right? You add on more and more and more keywords. You can see here they're doing the age-old stuffing of trying to get this cock 10, Q10, cock 10, cock 10, cock 10 all over. They're doing it over and over and over and over again because they're trying to rank really heavily for that term. And this is something that we would consider to be stuffing. And keyword stuffing doesn't have nearly as much impact on SEO and ranking as it did historically, as Amazon's got a little bit smarter. For reference, in your title, you actually can't list the same keyword more than 2 times in the title. If you list the same keyword 3 or more times in the title, Amazon flags your title and they will actually rewrite your title for you. Now, I talk about all this and I want to bring up the next part, and where does Rufus play into this, right? And especially whenever we're looking at something like Rufus, if we pull this up again and look at it, you'll notice something kind of interesting. Most everything here are going to be questions. So how often should this supplement be taken? What are some benefits of taking cock 10? Notice this second question in particular has nothing to do with the actual brand nor the product, and rather just the actual, or I should say just the product itself that they are selling, but nothing with this particular version of the product from this brand. And that's purposeful, because if we actually click on something like this, you'll notice that when it starts thinking about some of this, it's going to answer a lot of these questions, and then it brings up this specific one. But if we're going to be utilizing Rufus from a start to finish and not on the actual listing, how is it going to know to bring up your product or versus another one? And that's actually the interesting thing I want to talk about here today with SEO and how we are starting to see this. You'll notice some things below the actual listing, some more questions specifically from Rufus, the ones that we actually saw before of the Ask Rufus. These are guidelines and guiding lights to show us what we should be thinking about for the future of SEO. And the reason for this is that essentially what we're currently seeing across the board on so many different products is that Amazon is getting closer and closer to this idea of using prompt basis and question basis. It comes down to intent within how they're searching. So for instance, if myself and Kevin both pulled our phones and we searched for, let's say, a cock 10 supplement of some kind, our search page and our SERP might have some variability from an organic sense and not be a 1-to-1 ratio anymore, because they're going to take into account historical intent whenever they are looking for these types of things. So how do you exactly get into this idea of trying to get historical intent, and how do you get into this realm of figuring that out? Well, a couple of things. And this is where a brand like this, they actually do quite well at this. And the reason they do quite well at this is that if you're looking at the about this item, and then also we'll dive into their A+ content here in a second, but you'll notice that essentially in here, in their actual bullet points, I couldn't figure out that word for a second, they are actually talking about the supplement itself versus what their supplement differentiates from a different cock 10 supplement. The reason for that is that they are answering questions that might be asked. So for instance, when we're seeing something like this, where it says cock 10 supplements promote heart health and cellular energy production, you'll notice that the secondary aspect is our formula includes a highly bioavailable. So they talk first and foremost about the actual product itself. Then they talk about their differentiation in the product. This actually gives, and you can notice here, a lot of this, we get this little Ask Rufus button. The reason for this is that we're starting to see more and more that you need to be talking about the product itself and then talk about your differentiation. Whereas historically for conversion aspects, you wanted to talk about your differentiation and then talk about the product, right? Our age-old pictures are for people, reading is for robots, but we're getting really into the, literal sense of reading is for robots now, because we are talking directly to the actual algorithm when we're trying to add a lot of these features. So another big aspect to this that we're seeing, and one thing we can actually do here is we can actually take some of this and we're going to go to the search. And you may have done this yourself before, but you'll notice when I actually put into the search there, cock 10 supplements, you'll notice we have 2 different aspects of Rufus asking questions. The reason that this is happening, Amazon actually just partnered with OpenAI a couple of months ago. They had a very, very heavy investment. One of the major things that Amazon talked about with that partnership with OpenAI is that they are not actually going to be developing new AI tools for sellers. Instead, they specified that it's going to be AI tools for consumers. So we're expecting within the next 6 to 12 months to likely see either Rufus or a new AI version get paired directly in with the actual Amazon search functionality. This is just the starting layer of it. So you'll notice immediately COQ10 supplements, which COQ10 formulations are best absorbed by the body, and then can COQ10 supplements interact with any medications? So these are two different questions which we could consider to be prompts. Many of you probably know about prompt-based advertising as well on the Amazon backend, but the reason that these are important is because the way that we're starting to see SEO outside of our typical 4-phase approach is that we actually want to start to look at our top ranking keywords, such in this case, COQ10 supplements, and then also look at what the prompting is beside these. These different questions are going to give us a layer of visibility within inside the algorithm as well. The way you can do this is actually fairly simple whenever you're doing it. Again, you can be answering things like those different questions. So you'll notice here, which formulations are best absorbed by the body, right? They actually talk about the way that ingredients matter, right? And the quality and purity and the absorption behind it. But then on top of that, if we come down here into their actual A+ content section, and this is where, in my opinion, A+ is getting a huge boost compared to historically, because if we actually look here, you'll notice that their alt text is very minimal. And that is because Amazon themselves is actually starting to replace all alt text from their AI themselves. And so now it makes a lot more sense that you have to focus only on these. But you'll notice this right here. What is super ubiquinol COQ10 with enhanced mitochondrial support? And then it goes on to answer the question. The reason that sections like this are becoming so important within your actual SEO, rather than just keyword stuffing and rather than finding very specific search terms to go after, we're getting more into an intent and a question basis, essentially getting FAQs. Now, this isn't the actual FAQ section that you can add into your A+ content. And Kevin knows I was searching for like 10 minutes to try and find one of these that actually has an FAQ section on it that I could not find to utilize for this beforehand. But this is a great example of it, of where we're starting to find that question and intent basis is making its way into SEO for the specific purpose that if we actually ask this question, this is the kind of cool thing here. So we'll go back up, we'll find Rufus here, our little friend that nobody uses, but we can actually ask this question directly to Rufus. And one of the great parts about this is that it's going to start to think about it, right? And it's going to give the key features directly about it. And then immediately you'll notice this one. It says it right here. All of the different details that we actually added from the actual bullet points, and then also from that A+ content, where it answers the question of why it has that, right? And what the key features are. I don't know why it doesn't take you back to the A+, but whatever. Each one of those different sections are pulled from right here, if you noticed. And that is why this is so important, is because we're getting into this realm of SEO where all of our core phases of SEO, the ones that we were talking about here, phase 1 through 4, we're getting closer and closer into a phase 5. And the phase 5 is directed towards prompt basis and intent basis. The further we go into that, these are going to be the sections that matter the most, where we actually start answering the customer question before they ask it. Because the way that AI and the way that these different algorithms are going to start looking at things is who can answer the question. And when customers ask this simple question of, what supplement should I be taking for cellular energy? What supplement should I be taking for cardiovascular support, right? Those are the type of questions we need to be focused on. Those are the type of questions we need to start answering. And then on top of that, what we are doing internally across all of our clients is, again, seeing the top phrases or this top terms that we are trying to rank on and understanding what are the questions that are going alongside this. So for instance, interact with any medications, that would be a great question or a great way to answer somewhere here within your A+ content or within your bullet points to say something along the lines of, oh, this does not interact with X, Y, and Z medications, right? And starting to answer questions that are going to be readily available about the product prior to actually doing that. Now, the goal here at the end of the day is increased visibility, not within the general search. So again, if we actually go back and we'll go into the general search here, it's great. We have ourselves up here, and this is the age-old organic that Kevin was talking about earlier. But the goal here is to find the next areas ahead of time that we can actually get searched for in and actually show visibility in. Because sooner or later, we're going to get into a realm where more and more people are abandoning the age-old Amazon search, which is direct just keyword basis, and moving into these different questions where they start to ask. And, I still like how Rufus pops out, and I still think Rufus is meh. But it's going to be one of those. And you'll see here immediately, boom, we have the life extension supplement. It's the one I was viewing that came up. And it's because I was viewing it, right? And this is what we're talking about when we talk about intent, is that, for instance, could go and search this exact same thing. He could then ask one of those questions within there, and he'll have a very different intent basis within his search. Kevin, I don't know if you're pulling that up, but you definitely can if you want to. And so this is where we're starting to see a new realm of SEO, essentially, outside of the age-old SEO that we have done. And so that's a big thing I want everyone focused on here today, as focusing directly within intent and customer perception helps immensely. Now, the secondary aspect of this, it would be the actual prompt basis as well, where nowadays we are actually getting prompting directly in advertising. And Amazon's giving us those prompts, the ones such as I was showing there, that we can actually advertise directly against to show up in the AI as well. So what Kevin was talking about earlier of the first 5 you see are sponsored, and we didn't used to have a brand story and things like that. Guess what? We're right at the cusp of those, also those different phrases and those different prompts also being sponsored. So you want to get yourself in for an organic sense. And this is the new SEO organic, essentially.
Yeah, that's awesome, because the fundamentals are still the same. Like you talked about the 4 phases, and we're kind of going into a unofficial 5th phase of, working the prompts. Eventually we'll get there. I mean, when we'll call it the normies start talking about ChatGPT, and I hear it more and more, and we're talking about people who wouldn't normally be like, internet marketing, e-commerce.
My mom uses ChatGPT, which is right. Crazy to me. It's crazy to me that she does that.
Yeah, so that's awesome. So we're getting closer and closer to, not everybody used the web, the internets, when it first came out, but eventually people figured it out. And I think AI is becoming more and more that.
And a big part of this, when we're looking at how the algorithm is changing, how SEO is changing, and again, like especially the search is changing, is that I don't think we're going to see similar to what we have with like the brand or like the sponsor brand before, where boom, overnight sponsor brand is there, right? And it's just released. People are doing it now. Fantastic. We're not going to see with all of these different integrations into AI and searchability, we're not going to see that overnight change like we did. We're going to see it slow roll. And it's why for the last probably 12 months or so, many people who are here and who watch our content have heard me say, Rufus sucks, and still does. For reference, I'm still a hater of Rufus. I think it's just a bad AI. It's bad software. But within that as well, we still are starting to see the slow rollout. I mean, when Amazon sponsored prompts came out, you couldn't actually utilize it for the first 90 days or so. It was very rare that somebody had full access to sponsored prompts, but now we're starting to see it in almost every account start to populate more and more and more. The reason for that is that all of this is moving very quickly, and it's not going to change the core identity of SEO and organic ranking, because the big things that still affect your organic ranking in your SEO are going to be organic sales, click-through rate, conversion rate, PPC sales, 180-day average sales. Like all of those are going to be the core basis and won't change the fact that even with this intent basis and this prompt-based advertising, you're still going to need sales, right? And you're still going to need to focus heavily on your CTR, and you're still going to need to have the search terms and the keywords within your title and your bullet points, but it's how we start to arrange them and how we start to utilize that. Can we answer a question while simultaneously backfilling in SEO search terms that we're trying to index organically for? Those are the different areas that we really are seeing the changes with SEO, and especially testing now on client accounts across the board.
Awesome. Well, folks, if you have questions, we'll get to your questions here in just a moment. And so add them into the chat. The best time to ask the question is now, because we're going to go, for the most part, in order. And we're more likely to get to your question before the end of this stream if you ask it now. So someone said they were eating dinner. Did they miss something? Probably. I don't know how long you've been eating dinner, but I will say this. We're talking about basically almost, we'll call it the fifth phase of SEO, which is getting ahead of how prompts will affect SEO. But you can always watch the replay. Good news is we'll send the replay out here soon. So, all right. Elise says, do you need to include all the keywords you want to rank for in your listing? There are hundreds of them.
So I think this is where a lot of people get tripped up with SEO. They have this idea of like, you make your master keyword list and your, your MKL, and you're trying to figure out, how do I incorporate all of this into my listing? How do I try and rank for everything? And so that's where the core of our 4-phase approach, and I'll share my screen here again. That's where the core of our 4-phase approach comes in here, Elise. So whenever you're looking at rankability and indexing for different search terms, you should focus in each individual area. So you're always going to have your MKL, your master keyword list. You're going to have certain terms that are obviously going to be more important and more impactful. These are your high relevancy terms. So for instance, going back to the supplements we were looking at, you can tell that every single one of these products, you'll notice in one of the first 5 words, they have the COC 10, COC 10, COC 10, COC 10. It's in every single one of these in the first 5 words. The reason for that is obviously the most high relevancy, high intent. That is what the product is, right? And so you're always going to have different keywords like that, especially ones that have higher search volume. They're going to have higher visibility. They're going to be the ones you specifically want to try and rank on. So those are ones that I'm always going to focus copy first. Your title, your bullet points, your description. Now, when we look at things such as incremental indexing, this is where you're talking about having hundreds of different terms that you want to rank for, and that's where indexing comes in. You specifically want to add those type of terms into your back end search terms. So on the back end of Amazon, on every single listing, it's changed names over the years. Sometimes it says like generic keywords, other times it says search terms, so on and so forth. But it is specifically the keyword section on the back end of your listing. And that's where you're going to throw in a lot of those terms. That is what we consider to be incremental indexing. It's also where you're going to throw in terms that you have already started indexing for and you potentially want to try and rank for. And so you take them out of, for instance, your bullet points. They're not as high value terms for you. And so, for instance, if we go back on over here, I'm getting rid of Rufus because he's annoying. But if we come back on over here, we're going to look at this and we can see immediately, let's say that one of the major things that we wanted to focus on from a terms perspective is, I don't know, we'll see here like mitochondrial energy production, right? So that is a search phrase that we have currently in our bullet points, but the likelihood of that search phrase having more than maybe 200-300 total search volume is pretty low. And so maybe we want to take that search phrase out because we're already maybe indexed for it in some way, shape, or form. And now we can start to try and slowly rank for it. So we'll take it out. of our bullet points, and we'll throw it back into our backend search terms. This is going to what we consider in the age-old days as pink keywords. The reason they're called pink, for anyone who is curious here, is because years and years ago, Amazon actually had a keyword checker tool on their platform. Still no idea why it is they took the index checker away. And Helium 10 copied it over and made pink keywords, basically keywords that were exactly this, ones that you're already ranked for in some way that you can add onto your backend search terms. And so whenever you're doing this, you go through, we typically are going to go through SEO phases, usually about once every 30 days. You're going to just supplement, you're going to cycle in and out keywords, because once you're indexed for something, it's not likely that you're just going to immediately fall off from indexing for that term. And then more so even ranking, anything that you're trying to get within that phase 3, which is your strike zone. So going back here real quick, this phase 3 strike zone, anything that you want to be page 1, 2, or 3 never is going to realistically leave from your actual search terms that you're focused on, because those are the ones that you're realistically trying to rank on very, very heavily as well. So hopefully that kind of, I think, answered the question as in-depth as possible.
Yes, that was a very good answer. All right, next up, Shane asks, should we put the actual questions, so the questions you were showing from Rufus, the customers are asking, into our A+ content and bullet points?
So A+ content, yes. In my opinion, the answer is yes. Bullet points, no. So you'll notice that they don't actually have the actual question within inside of their bullet points. And part of that is because bullet points aren't really meant to ask a question, give an answer, right? But you are essentially giving the answer to a lot of those questions. So the things that we're currently seeing are working really well for this type of indexing, or I guess you can call it indexing, is specifically in your bullet points. There is going to be questions that are going to be asked, and you'll see the ones like, how does this supplement support mitochondrial function, right? And then one of the bullet points is directly talking about how COQ10 works at a cellular level to help your mitochondria convert sugar and fats into usable energy. So we're answering a question that is appearing below the actual product from Rufus and from customers, so to speak, in the bullet points without actually directly stating the question. The only questions that you should be adding into your A+ content under the FAQ section or in your A+ are ones in which the high value prompt questions. And we're getting that off of, again, things such as that top search term. So what questions and what prompts are we seeing attached to that top search term? Everything else from a question basis, you can actually just answer at a actual descriptive level for the question within inside of your bullet points. So we're seeing it, work in both ways, I guess.
Okay, got it. So be more direct in A+ content and go around it, or at least include
descriptive
the answer.
In bullet point. Who knew that bullet points are supposed to be descriptive? We're coming full circle here, people, because many people probably don't know Amazon. Like, a decade ago, you were supposed to use your bullet points as nothing but like descriptors, and then people started to realize, oh, your bullet points are how you actually rank for search terms, and they realized it's very much like SEO on a website, and they started basically gaming the system of bullet points. And so that's why nowadays, if you look at bullet points on a lot of listings, most of it's just kind of like jargon. It doesn't really actually make sense to read like from a logical perspective. And a large part of that is because of the aspect of what SEO did to bullet points. And now we're coming full circle back around to where bullet points are back to being actual descriptive, and being actually descriptive in a way that is legible makes the most sense.
Very true. Very true. All right. So I guess this is more of a comment, which is kind of the same thing. Our copy, i.e. bullet points, A+ content, should answer Rufus customer questions. So
that it should.
You just answered that. Yes. Barack says, how do you monitor keyword rankings? You rely on external tools or Amazon's internal data? And what is your tracking frequency for optimization, especially in relation to PPC performance?
Yep. So 3 different tools that I'm going to recommend to everyone. First and foremost, Amazon Search Query Performance Report. That is just the standard to go to. right? That's going to give you the most amount, I think, of internal visibility that Amazon can as far as your overall rankings and performance against certain search terms. It's what it is made for, is directly that. The secondary is, I think, the age-old Helium 10. Helium 10 has had a monopoly on the market as far as keyword rankings for God knows how many years now, and it's still just one of the best softwares out there as far as tracking, specifically things such as Cerebro for their keyword tracker as well. And then that will also give you both your organic and your PPC side as well. When you are looking at like PPC for performance, on that note as well, I like to personally utilize Search Query Performance Report to understand how I am impacting my organics from PPC sales on specific keywords. Because you can have a lot of visibility, a lot of awareness being driven for organics off of those PPC sales. And then the final one would be, we also utilize nowadays Data Dive. Data Dive, not so much in the sense of PPC performance, as they are very, very organic. And I think Helium's a little bit better when it comes to like keyword ranking from a sponsored perspective. But Data Dive is great for understanding like competitors as well, and how you essentially stack up against direct competitors on specific search terms and keywords.
Awesome. How do you access your backend search terms?
Oh, let me see if I'm logged into an account here.
Oh, we won't describe it. We'll show you.
Yeah, well, I think this is much more. I mean, I think I described it earlier, so I feel like now I kind of have to show. The easy way here. Let's see. Can I show this? Yeah, it'll probably be fine.
All right, go for it.
Wow. Yeah, it'll be fine. Okay. Let me share a screen. So. There we go. So essentially super simple here. All you do, edit listing here, Shane. So click this edit listing, come back here. And then once you're actually on the listing, you're going to go over to your product details. A couple of different things. It's the same exact section that you also put your product description in if you want to. It's exactly where you put your bullet points as well. So this is where you would fill out bullet points that you have. And then also we have generic keywords here. So generic keywords, this is what we're talking about. You can always add more down here as well, but it's not always going to actually work to add more. You technically, I believe, are able to add up to like 5 of these sections. Yeah, so 5 of these sections. Quick note on anyone who is doing this. Amazon keeps changing this based on the category all the freaking time. They go between 250 characters total, 250 bytes total, 500 bytes to 2,500 bytes. So if you have 5 sections and you have the ability to fill out all sections, and Amazon will very quickly tell you whether or not you're allowed to have that many total search terms within them overall. Now, a big thing here as well is that if you're somebody who does know, I'm always going to encourage, do this via flat file instead of specifically going on Amazon's backend. You're going to have a lot better time of actually getting everything to stick to the listing, and is just called usually generic keywords or search terms on flat files, depending on the category again. So pretty simple.
It's amazing how many things are depending on the category on Amazon.
Unfortunately, I mean, it's the age-old thing. It's because Amazon, like outside of the fact that Amazon itself is like 40 different companies all built into one giant, monolith. On top of that, inside of like, the catalog team and whatnot, each one of those different categories is its own individual team under one company. And so it's like the equivalent of, I don't know, like it's like trying to say, hey, does a graphic designer know what, a listing specialist is doing on, completely other team on any given day? And the answer is no. Unfortunately, so.
Yeah. All right. Ellie's says, how do you index a keyword and how do you check indexation?
So no one answered my question earlier when I asked the question of what ranking you have to be for a specific keyword to be considered ranked, and nobody answered it for indexed either. So I guess nobody gets a little free mag school course unless somebody wants to throw it in the chat before I say it now, in which case, maybe we'll throw something out to the people there. But I have a feeling people might not know.
Going twice. Go.
Okay. So Typically speaking, the difference between ranking and indexing. So ranking is where you are specifically able to be showing up within a category under a specific keyword when somebody checks it. Raphael said 20. Unfortunately, no. So it has actually changed over the years. Back in the past, ranking was anything that was under 500. So you would have to be within the top 500 products on a specific keyword for that keyword to be considered ranked. Nowadays, it's much closer to 250 just because of how Amazon's category has changed and how they showcase products. So anything that is typically going to be under 250 or 250 or greater, so like 1 to 250 is what I would consider to be ranked. Anything over 250, we're going to be considering indexed. An index specifically means that theoretically your product is related to this keyword in some way, shape, or form, and it is technically findable from that specific keyword, but it's not within that top 250, which means the likelihood is you're getting less than like 0.1% of total search volume towards that keyword. The point of indexing for keywords, right, is so that over time, as you start to slowly grow your overall sales volume across all categories and all different products, so you do have the ability to organically show up again with things like intent nowadays with the algorithm on other products that are ranked for that keyword, as well as utilize it within your advertising as to gain incremental sales volume. So that's the true kind of point of ranking versus indexing. To answer the question, how do you check indexing? Best way, honestly, is just H10 index checker. So that's which is now inside Cerebro, I guess, because they just added that feature. So that's going to be the easiest way, in my opinion, to check for indexation.
Awesome. All right. Real quick, I just want to throw out there, folks, I hope everybody's enjoying this and, you're learning a lot. But the learning doesn't have to stop here. Our goal is to be the most, and it was on one of the other slides, seller-centric companies out there. And so that means that we are what we like to call a learning organization. We are an education company that happens to be an agency. And so we have lots of ways to help you. And maybe you need our help, in full service where we manage your account. Or maybe at the same time, too, you could work with us in other ways. And so, for example, we have our Mag School courses, which I'm going to try to bring to the screen. Let me try now. There we go. All right. So you can take your learning to the next level by checking out Mag School. Some of you may be familiar with Mag School. In fact, Noah was just hinting at that as a giveaway for a prize. But the good news is everybody's a winner here today because you can check out our Mag School courses for things like SEO, which we have 2 different SEO courses. One kind of more the basics, one on phase 4, which is your advanced market share. And you can actually, on all of our $100 Mag School courses, which, we're not trying to throw out, a $2,500 course here. We're talking about $100 Mag School courses. You can actually save 50%. But that catches, that's just for a limited time. So if you go to mag-school.com, which I will put into the chat right now, just add the code SAVE50, which I'll type in there as well. And you can save 50% off a $100 Mag School course, which really makes it a $50 Mag School course, which is an absolute steal. These are the same courses we use to train our staff too. Like they literally, we sign them up for this exact same courses you're going to get. And we provide $7 billion worth of revenue for our clients. So you can understand these are tried and true. We have a team that goes through and updates them from time to time. I believe on a quarterly basis. So we're always making sure that these are updated. So just go over to mag-school.com and you can type in code SAVE50. Oops, mistyped it. But I put the code in as well. You can save 50% off a Mag School course by heading on over there. So with that, I'm going to head us back to what we were working on before, and we're going to be answering more questions. I'm glad folks like Shane are saying that they're learning a lot because that is our goal here. So, all right, going back to where were we? Looks like Paul asked a question in the back end terms. I have read that you do not need the full phrases, only each word in them. So if you have red garlic press, kitchen garlic press tool, you would just need red garlic press kitchen tool.
Yeah, so this is semi-true in the sense, now it's still probably good dependent on focusing on direct keywords, but big thing to understand is that your backend keywords are, and this is where indexing ends up mostly happening, because you'll find that people sometimes are indexed for terms that make no sense whatsoever, right, as to why they are indexed. And that's partially because indexing on backend search terms happens from like a broad target perspective. And for anybody who understands like the PPC side of things, right, broad phrase exact, you're not using backend search terms as an exact match. You're using it as a broad match. Or in some cases, I guess technically this would be a phrase match in most cases. But it essentially means that it just has to have those keywords somewhere within your backend search terms, and it'll match them up.
Yeah, and that's a very good point. So in that example, you could show up for like red tool, and somebody's looking up red screwdriver tool, and you have a red garlic press, because those words are in there. You might show up. But Amazon's algorithm is also smart enough to over time figure out the semantics.
Yeah, and that's kind of the core at the end of the day, indexing, right? Is the aspect of those semantics where you can be indexed for something and you're never actually going to show up for it, and you're never going to rank for it because you're not actually, it's not actually a relevant term from like a data-driven perspective.
Absolutely. All right. Bill says, do you use a tool that anticipates questions customers will ask? So I'm assuming this is you're not maybe a new product that doesn't have a lot of customer.
I'm assuming asking this question of like, are we currently using a tool to figure out what prompts and stuff for Rufus? Here's what I'll tell you is that the answer is kinda, but I don't have anything to realistically show anyone. There's a couple of tools out there that I'll just tell everyone right now to be very wary of. I have tested pretty much every single one of the quote unquote Rufus indexing checker tools and everything out there. Every single one of them is pretty much just fabricated AI hallucinations. It's really funny. It was really funny. A couple of weeks ago, some guy and I got into a tiff on LinkedIn because he wanted me to check out his tool for Rufus indexing. And I put it in ASIN, and then 5 minutes goes by and it spits out all this data about all these different like prompts and everything and questions that, and how other competitors are showing up for it versus like this product isn't showing up for it. And all I did was I then went into an incognito browser, went to Amazon, went to Rufus, asked the question, and the product that I had initially put in showed up first for nearly every single one of the prompts that they said it has no indexing on. And so basically the reason I'm saying this to everyone is that take any of those tools that you see online right now with a grain of salt, because most of them are just exactly that, vibe code hallucinations, more than actual ones that are pulling actual data from Amazon's backend. Nobody has, currently speaking, not even Helium, has direct access into Rufus data just yet. Many people are claiming they do, and every single one I've heard from an Amazon employee is lying. So just something to take with a grain of salt there. It's still a very manualized process, basically.
Gotcha. All right. Ellie's Gray says, what is your action on a keyword that is on the second or third page? How do you push them up to the first page? This is that strike zone we were talking about.
No, it's perfect. So strike zone. Strike zone is anything where you are ranked 20 to 50, and that is page 2 to 3. Strike zone is super important because you want to get all of those keywords into page 1 ranking, because the amount of search visibility that page 1 has from an impression share compared to page 2 is roughly about an 80% difference. It's pretty striking at the end of the day. So the big thing here when you're looking at trying to do this is a couple of things. Obviously, adding it direct into your bullet points, into your title if it is a high enough intent keyword, and also into your backend search terms. But more so, you just need to get sales velocity with that keyword on your listing, both in your copy and then also pushing them usually via as well your actual PPC. So coming back to the age-old thing of like what affects SEO ranking, it's going to be organic sales number 1, making sure that that keyword is in your actual listing and people are finding you from that keyword and purchasing you from that keyword. Your click-through rate on that keyword, your conversion rate on that keyword, your PPC sales on that keyword, then your 180-day average sales. And there's a couple other ones in there as well, but those are the top 5 most important things to focus on.
Awesome. Brock says, I think we need to take a biology crash course before watching this webinar, because we were talking about the CoQ10.
The mitochondrial.
Yeah. Sometimes
powerhouse of the cell, or is that the nucleus? I can't remember.
Something. So like yesterday, I spoke to a guy who's a radiation oncologist who hired us because he wanted our help, because we don't do a lot with books, but his book on radiation oncology was suppressed. And so we might have to take that same biology class too. But the fundamentals of Amazon, biology, physics, or chemistry aside, are the same. All right. Juan Duarte says, going back to adding Q&A to the listing, what about the classic Q&A section? Should we add the classic too?
Yeah, so that's specifically what I am kind of referencing of, yes, you should. You really should add to the classic one in the FAQ sections, like I said, in the A+ content, but then also, yes, the classic Q&A section, definitely add. It will have weight. Now, again, we're still kind of testing it from a data perspective as to what the weighting is for a lot of these. And it's one of those where I want to really emphasize that I'm giving all this advice. I'm giving you guys this kind of masterclass here today. And you can go and take all of these learnings and go implement them. You're probably not going to see a single change tomorrow or the next day or the day after that, because this is not something that is going to magically take you from rank 100 to rank 1. This is at least right now, this is something that you're going to be ahead of every single other guy who is rank 1 to 99, who's not doing this in the next 6 to 12 months. And you're already going to have a head start, because you're going to know the process. You're going to be down with the process, understand what to do and where to put it, where they're still catching up. So this is very much a future-proofing yourself before other people catch up to you.
Very cool. It's all about getting ahead of the curve. How do we know how many keywords the product has indexed?
Easiest way is using H10. Again, index checker. Helium 10. That's just the simplest way in my mind, at least.
And I also like doing although it's not indexing, it's more ranking, but using Cerebro and just putting in the ASIN for your product, and you see what your
Cerebro and the index checker are now paired together. So it's
they are okay.
Yeah, so it's same tools. So they got rid of the index checker as a standalone and put it into Cerebro now. Very
cool. All right. Antonio says, does A+ content contribute for indexing?
Only crawlable text. So what do I mean by crawlable text? Because I think a lot of people may be confused on this. So what I mean by, hold on. There we go. What I mean by crawlable text is essentially, if at any point in time, you'll notice that when I try and like grab this, nothing pops up, right? I'm not like actually grabbing it. It's just an image, right? But this I can actually highlight. This is what we consider to be crawlable text. Same thing here, that we have crawlable text here. This cellular energy, this little blurb right here, that is not crawlable text, but this down here is, for the cells produce the energy, right? Same exact thing for all this. This is not crawlable because I can't grab any of it. This is a video, so it's not crawlable, so on and so forth, right? Same thing down here. All of these are pictures. So for your brand story as well, this right here, this is all crawlable. You'll notice again, also, and I didn't even touch on it earlier, but you'll notice again that we have more questions that they are answering here specific to the product itself, right? So again, just want to reiterate the questions, but yeah, anything that is essentially crawlable is something that you can index for in some way, shape, or form.
Very cool.
Unfortunately, A+ content no longer indexable.
All
or not A+, sorry, alt text. I don't know why
alt text. Oh, that's true, because it used to be you could put in whatever. Now they arbitrarily decide, which is
unfortunately.
Unfortunately. All right. How do you submit access to Premium A+?
Yeah, you have to have 5 regular A+ content variations submitted and approved to Amazon over a 12-month period. And then over time, Premium A+ will become available to you. If you've done that and you have more than 5 at any given time, you can just submit a case to seller support and they can open up. Oh, you also have to have a brand story as well. And that has to be on every single one of your products. So you have to have your brand story on every single product. And you have to have 5 or more approved A+ content variations in the last 12 months.
Very good. Do you have any videos explaining flat files?
I do. I have so many videos explaining flat files. I actually think I just recorded and uploaded one recently. Yeah, if you literally just go to like our channel and just type in flat, the very first thing that comes up is easiest flat file upload guide.
Plenty of options.
Yeah, I mean, actually, let me do this. Literally right here. If you just type in this little search bar on the channel and just type in flat, there you go. Easiest flat file upload guide, Antonio.
Very good. Very good. Just youtube.com/my Amazon guide. All one word. And then Juan Duarte says, I'm planning on taking your SEO course you mentioned earlier. Can you describe it a little bit? Will all these recommendations be there in more detail? Will I be able to ask questions? There is a chat feature where you can ask our team questions. Now, it's not as interactive as this is, just to be fully transparent, but there is a certification at the end. So that way you can test your learning as well. But it does go into the, that one focuses a little bit more on the 4 phases. And we have another one that focuses specifically on the 4th phase, which is the fun part, because that means you're doing pretty well. So that tees me up pretty well. As a reminder, if you would like to save 50% off our Mag School courses, just go to mag-school.com, which if you scroll up a little bit in the recent chats, you should be, or comments, however you see it on your screen. You just go to mag-school.com, put in code SAVE50, which I put into the chats, both the coupon code and the URL, which you can click on. But don't sit on this because this deal won't last forever. It will expire on Tuesday. So if you are interested, make sure to hit up that deal. And it's not just the SEO courses. It's all of our $100 Mag School courses. You can save 50% on. Someone asks, how long is the honeymoon period? There's not an official honeymoon period, but there is a honeymoon period course on Mag School. It's not in that picture. We just didn't have enough space for all of them. You have so many options. So head to mag-school.com to learn more. So with that, Noah, I think this is probably a good breaking point. I know there's probably a couple other questions we didn't get to, but you will also be available to answer questions here soon.
I will. We do a Friday live Q&A every single week, 12 p.m. Eastern on the My Amazon Guy YouTube channel. For anyone who wants to stop on by and ask more questions, I will be readily available for you. We play games. We have a good time over there.
Awesome. If you have any problems with the coupon code, it is the $100 Mag School courses. But if you have a $100 Mag School course that it did not work on, just send a screenshot to podcast, singular podcast at myamazonguy.com, and our team will fix it for you. So with that, thank you, everybody. Have an awesome day.